nuclear war or something like that. Today, the crypto bulls have to face off with one of the biggest foes that they've had to deal with in a few days. I think a few days is a good, yeah, it's been like a few days. And that's because we woke up with the president saying that he's moving nuclear submarines over to be right next to Russia, saying that words matter and that we need to be super aggressive in pursuing nuclear stuff. And this is as we are coming into seasonally one of the worst months in the history for Bitcoin. That's why look at all the August in the history of Bitcoin, and you can see that essentially almost all of them are blood red. But what you will notice is that some of them are not. And that specifically are the ones right after the halving of 2021 and 2017 and 2013. After all three halvings, we've seen net growth of the Bitcoin price in the month of August. So while what's happening right now might be scary, and certainly we're looking at some weakness in the market, it does not mean that we need to go into full panic mode. And quite frankly, I'm still extremely bullish for Q4 and Q1 and the rest of this super cycle. So as we look at some scary big drops on some of our favorite assets, the question is, what should we be doing with our coins? And I got you on all that and more. Make sure to destroy that like button if you're excited for the battle plan for August. And of course, make sure to subscribe as we're going to be doing a lot more content, keeping you up to date with time-sensitive information. As always, let's get this party started. So first and foremost, yes, August is a bad month, and particularly we're seeing some massive drops here on Coinbase stock. You can see this thing is down absolutely astronomical from the high. Came down from 445 all the way down already 30% here, and you can see it gap down just over the last day or so from about 370 down to 310. How big is that drop? That is a massive drop. You can see that this is all a 15% drop in a day. It's the biggest loser here on the side, and you can see that all the market is just really red right now. And that's because we've had a combination of weakness in the market on Bitcoin, which we'll get to in a second, but Coinbase also missed their Q2 earnings, and now you can see it's retracing here. If you zoom out though, I think this is going to make for an amazing opportunity, really the best opportunity that we've seen on Coinbase stock in quite some time. As you can see, there's been this sort of broadening wedge pattern on Coinbase since the beginning of the bull run in 2022. You can see this as maybe a deviation above that. Again, this is not a hardcore technical pattern. I'm just showing that there is some continuity here with these tops. You can see the top here, top here, top here, and now you can see this was a bit of a deviation and overexcitement here. But what you can see also is that there's this daily, the last daily low where this rally started around 230. Anything around here is probably a sweet buy. And of course, anything above this blue line, I would also consider still valid to buy as well. In the end, I'm a big believer that owning Coinbase stock is not a bad plan. So I'm happy to load up more on the lows. But getting to Mr. Bitcoin, I think it's important that we just take a second and look at this, because what we saw is when we started this rally, we really exploded here from about 106 all the way up to about 118 or 117 without moving, without really stopping. This was what you'd call a thin move where there really wasn't much pushback. It just was a straight up move. And then it kind of hovered and went sideways here. Now, when that happens, what we've seen is the other thin moves that have led to massive breakouts right here. And we've seen one right here going all the way back to 2020, the beginning of 2024. You can actually say that this all was a pretty thin move right here. What we see here is that as we've gotten these thin moves, the market has gone back and wanted to fill them in. So you can see that there was this thin move here, and then you can see that the market kind of went back and filled in all of this move right here. And we can see that it did the same thing after we broke out over 100K. It kind of refilled most of this move right here. And then we can see it kind of did the same thing when we busted through that prior all-time high and sort of redid this thin move right here. And now we can see once again another thin move from 106 to 117, and we can see that it's kind of filling it back in. So does that mean that we're just going to hit here and rock it up? That would be the actual hope here. But I do want to shout out my boy over here, Crown from Crown's Crypto Cave. If you guys are not following Crown, just give him some love over here, man. He's absolutely killing it. He actually predicted this drop right into, he's actually predicting it going under that prior all-time high flip in the 106 to 108 zone. And he's showing that if we respect this higher low here, I'm going to show you on my chart because I can draw on it. He's showing that if we respect this higher low here at about a 105, 104.9 region, that we will be okay. And so he's saying if we come down here and do some of this action and go up, it's still okay. I will say one of my other trading goats is saying if we lose this level, 112, he's expecting to short and just really take some easy shorts. Now, what I will say is if we do lose this level, even if we go down here and reaccumulate, probably if we lose this 112 level right here, it's going to lead to massive downside price action, at least in the short term, which will do two things. The downside price action will allow to refuel. If you're bullish like me, you have a chance to keep buying stuff. And then the second thing is if you're a trader and you're looking to trade this, you can actually use this moment to short. Now, of course, you know that the partner exchange Blofin that we work with is the best place to do this if you're a US resident. Now, Blofin have been super generous in offering up to $100,000 in trading and deposit rewards. Terms and conditions do apply here. But again, they are paying you essentially to go and trade over there. And that's because trading is risky. But if you're good, this is a huge opportunity. There is no KYC. So if you're American, you can do this. And I trade on there all the time. Again, in these downward markets, knowing how to short, if you do know how to short, is a superpower. I've seen tons of people print on it. But if you don't know how, it's definitely not something that I would jump right into. If you want to know about trading for real, go check out my interview here with Brandon Hong. I'm in his trading group and he is an absolute beast. I've actually never seen anyone crush trade after trade after trade like him. He's only 24 and he's got a very simple system that I believe anyone can learn this system. Very, very simple. Just because it's simple doesn't mean it's easy, right? Simple and easy are two different things. But definitely check out, this is one of my GOAT mentors on trading. Very simple system. And I mean, the guy has made over 9 figures at 24 just trading, straight up trading, starting with $5,000. Beast mode doesn't even come close to describing it. So again, check out Blofin, go learn from Brandon, check out Crown, all amazing traders. But again, these types of markets are an opportunity to learn to trade in different ways, and having the ability to go short and long, I think, is a skill set and a mindset that is really important to incorporate, even if you're a long-term investor like moi. Anyways, check out Blofin. The link is in the description and you can get up to $100,000 sign up and trading bonus. So again, not financial advice. Shorting and doing all these things is risky. So if you're not experienced, don't do it. But again, that's one way to think of this market, which is if you lose this key level, that would trigger a pretty important short level. And that might be a way to pick up some cash on the way down if you're bullish like me and essentially load up the bags. Because boy, you better believe that I don't think that this is the top. That's just not what's happening here. And let me show you exactly what I'm saying. I'm actually more in this camp, which is, hey, nuclear war, well, shut the blinds, man. We got to do our crypto stuff. I don't care if we're getting wiped off the globe. I'm going to be staring at the 1 minute chart. Because again, I've been screaming this and I feel like I've been screaming into the void that what's happening right now is the biggest moment we've ever seen for some of the most important technologies in the crypto space. And these changes aren't just going to be this 1 minute dose of excitement like we've been seeing over prior cycles. We'll get a 1 month rally, a 2 month rally. The changes we're talking about are fundamentally changing the industry and fundamentally changing our modern financial world. Hear me out. For example, Walter Bloomberg reports that the SEC chair, Paul Atkins, yesterday was talking about how they're launching Project Crypto, and it's an initiative to modernize securities rules and move markets on chain. And this means to me, as I've been screaming over the last several months, that all DeFi is about to replace centralized financial services, that all the financial world is about to move onto likely, mostly Ethereum. Ethereum is the blockchain of choice that has been chosen to be the most trustworthy for actually replacing the legacy financial system. This is the world computer, the world settlement layer. And yes, Solana is very much so cheaper, faster, better in a lot of ways, but not in the way that, in my opinion, will actually matter in the fact that it won't be chosen as significantly by the big boys, the big institutions, the BlackRocks, the hedge funds, the New York Stock Exchange. These types of entities will choose Ethereum because its trust layer is significantly higher. So with that said, this whole Project Crypto initiative to me is once again another piece of evidence that the regulators are giving the green light to everything that gives ETH its fundamental value. I believe the story of Ethereum, the story of this decentralized financial ecosystem is what will define not just the next few months, but the next several years of investing and of course, financial services. And that's why I've been so bullish on DeFi. We also got the word that the SEC chair believes that almost no assets are securities. They're just not. That's not how he believes that they operate. And so this is very, very bullish. And on top of that, he said that he believes that he wants to create a framework to allow crypto securities and non-securities to be traded side by side. Again, imagine you're able to farm some yield in a really cool DeFi ecosystem. Yes, I'm talking about black hole. And then you're able to seamlessly buy into Apple stock, Nvidia stock, convert those gains, those crypto gains into something very decorrelated or in a different total spectrum of risk. These are the types of cool things that will be possible in the future as these regulatory changes are made, that essentially you'll be able to fluidly take all these opportunities you're seeing in crypto and convert them into non-crypto opportunities or just simply reinvest them. I think it's really freaking cool. And as someone who is eyeballs deep in DeFi right now, I can tell you this is by far the most exciting moment I have seen in this industry in what feels like forever. Again, adding to the weakness, we had all of these new tariffs go on. I don't think this is really the issue. This was pretty much expected. I think what's really the issue is that Bitcoin was just feeling a bit weak here. It just had a bit of a weak moment. And in the end, that's what happens here is as these thin moves get retraced, new strength is born. We get some revisiting of the lows and then blast off. We're sort of seeing that right now. Maybe we go down here and then blast off. I have no idea, but I know that I am not giving up any of my coins to the literal bankers. This used to be a meme. Don't sell your Bitcoin to the bankers. That's literally what's happening right now as BlackRock and all of these banks are hoovering up your weak-handed sells, and they want them for the long term because they see that this isn't a small trend. This is the future of France. This is the dream that we've had for not just years, but over a decade now in crypto, and it's all happening right now in the palm of your hands. All you have to do is squeeze tight, not relinquish your chance at destiny. That's my opinion. Now, again, I believe that while ETH is notorious for being extremely slow at accomplishing anything, it is trying to scale, right? It is trying to scale, and it's going to be better than it has been in the past. So make no mistake, I believe Ethereum is definitely the story that will continue to play out over the coming years and decades. I'm just really bullish on ETH and ETH related DeFi. Now, in other news, some people are actually raising some FUD concerns over the MicroStrategy earnings because apparently Saylor is saying that he's not going to bid Bitcoin with common stock equity unless they're over 2.5 times MNAV. Look, don't worry about what all this means, but essentially what they're saying is that Michael Saylor might not be bidding as much. And that's causing a huge change in the vibes. There was also a bad jobs report, and essentially Jerome Powell had a hawkish stance. But let's turn to Gigabull Vance Spencer, who says actually he thinks that this is a pivot and that Saylor, even though he's changing the way he's bidding, he's actually going to go all in on STRC, which he says is the iPhone moment of MicroStrategy. Essentially, he's found this right piece of financial engineering to actually buy Bitcoin ongoing. Now, you don't need to know what all this means. This is describing how the watch works. What you need to do is know how to read the time. And what Vance is saying is that Saylor ain't slowing down. I mean, if you know Saylor, he's not trying to play defense. He's trying to play permanent offense from now until eternity in collecting Bitcoin. So just to put a bow on this, I don't think that actually Saylor is going to stop buying. I think it's a temporary pause, and I think people are wildly misunderstanding the moment. And we're just seeing more August seasonality play out after a really bullish July and a surprisingly bullish July. Now, of course, keep in mind that the year after the halving in August has always been bullish, so this might just be a little dip before we take off. But again, for me, I'd love to see an explosive Q4 and even to see this party carry over into 2026, as I have a sneaking suspicion that this cycle might actually be significantly longer because everything has gone so much slower, taken so much longer. I wouldn't be shocked if we see this cycle extend. We see different types of bearish trends play out, but overall a slow growth of Bitcoin and crypto finally backed by true Wall Street money, by true institutional capital. That's what we're seeing. And so I think we're going to see the behavior over the next several months and years change. But the one thing I'm extremely excited about that I think is the ultimate moment we're in right now is the birth of truly regulated green-lit DeFi. And I don't think people understand the gravity, the significant importance of this. And of course, I've made it pretty clear what my biggest DeFi picks are, all of which are pretty significantly retracing right now, except for Athena. Athena's been, doing extremely well here. As you can see, we put on this literal trade setup. We rarely do this, but look at this. This thing is up monstrously from where we had this. If you put a little leverage on this sucker, you're getting many X's out of what's happened here. And I think there's still room to go. But before we wrap today's episode, I wanted to touch in on Black Hole. Of course, you guys know I've been screaming about Black Hole. There was a ton of doubters with a new project coming in 2025 as it's been blood on the highway for all kinds of altcoin projects. But I wanted to show you something because this has been absolutely insane. The revenue for Black Hole, and this is from DeFi Llama, has been absolutely parabolic, making new highs almost every single day. This is an insane chart. And if you want some context here on how significant it is that Black Hole has this much TVL, which by the way, the actual liquidity is not showing right. What you can see is there's actually $260 million in Black Hole TVL, which is utterly insane in just a few weeks here, barely over 2 weeks. And what you'll see is if you sort by total revenue in 24 hours on DeFi Llama, not just from DEXs, but from all protocols, including Tether, Circle, Hyperliquid, the actual whole chain of Hyperliquid, Jupiter, right? You're having some of the biggest protocols in the industry, and Black Hole is sitting here knocking on the door of the top 20 in the entire industry by daily revenue. Now, why does this matter, right? Well, it matters because these fees, these daily fees, and by the way, this got reset just yesterday or the day before, so this isn't even 2 days worth of fees that it's showing here. But as you can see here, all of these fees go to people who burn and lock their black tokens. So as this number gets higher, the amount of time it takes for you to get paid back by burning your tokens gets lower and lower. Obviously, revenues can go up and down, but right now they keep going up. And that's what's so exciting, is that, as the name would suggest, like a black hole, it's sucking in all the TVL from tons of other chains. And for evidence of this, we can see that AVAX is actually up over 400% in active addresses since the launch of Black Hole. We can see that in just 24 hours, we had over $30 million in inflows into AVAX with new TVL, most of which going directly into Black Hole. So you can see that Black Hole alone has been the source of AVAX taking significant supremacy across the industry in new blood, new life, and new excitement. This is precisely the cultural moment that we were hoping would happen and that we collaborated with the Avalanche Foundation to make happen. So shout out to them. They're amazing. And shout out to AVAX, which again, if you are on Black Hole, you can see here that the amount of fees being generated, this is just like a day and a half of fees being generated from this pool, thousands of AVAX going out to people who are locking their tokens. So a lot of AVAX flowing through this pool, a lot of AVAX coming into the Black Hole protocol. Now, something I wanted to explain here, and one of the reasons why Black is such a different project than the other projects in the space, is actually the revenues for DEXs. While they do dip in the downtimes, they don't actually go away, and they certainly don't dip all that much. In the end, people still trade in good weather and in bad weather, and we're still kind of at the lows in the altcoin world. So a dip here isn't going to be like a 90% dip. We're going to be looking at maybe a 30%, maybe a 40% dip in total DEX revenues and volumes, even if we go into a really bad period. And I don't think we're going into a really bad period. But the point is that the people who burned their black tokens will actually be happier in those downtimes, because they'll be collecting fees day over day, week over week, rain or shine. And in the dark times, that dry powder is going to make this community really excited, and it's going to give them optionality to reinvest those profits into whatever they want, either just having dry powder for their lives or actually buying stuff at the ultimate lows, at the bear market lows, and collecting what could be seen as pretty much free yield, because let's be honest, the Black Hole project was given out to super stakers for free, over $100 million worth of ownership in the Black Hole project given out for free. I think it will go down as one of the biggest gifts to any community in history, especially if the Black Hole project grows significantly from here. Again, we'll have to see what happens, but the numbers don't lie. And this chart is one of the most beautiful charts I've ever seen in my life. Oh, you can see that the TVL now actually reflecting more accurately. You can see over $200,000 a day in fees is monstrous amounts of money to be flowing through to a fully decentralized network. And something that people aren't talking about, of course, is that Superverse owns 10% of those fees to be doing super buybacks on a regular basis here. Again, those haven't even started yet, so you have those to look forward to. So the story of Super being this pan-gaming currency backed by one of the fastest growing and most prolific DeFi ecosystems is a story that I believe will define the next few years of this industry. And it will be not only how Super continues to dominate in the gaming space, but how Black Hole continues to dominate in the DeFi space. So I'm just so excited by what we've created here. And I think that this is something that will make the community of Black Hole really happy as things cool off, because they'll be one of the only communities with dry powder coming in day over day, week over week. I'll be honest, this type of traction is something I've been dying for. Since I started my entrepreneurship journey, this is what I've been waiting for. And I don't think anyone is quite as well positioned as myself to capitalize on spreading and making subsequent chess moves that will make the holders of the burned black tokens, the VBlack holders, to put them in the best position possible, because they are now fully aligned with the protocol and along for the ride. And those are the people that we're trying to make aggressive moves for. So I'm so excited by what's going on here. And again, just thank you all so much. What can I say? August is off to a weird start, a rocky start, but it's certainly not the end of the game. In my opinion, this is a huge opportunity to be doubling and tripling down on the most important assets that you're bullish on. Again, we could see a massive short opportunity here under 112K. And if you believe in my man Crowns TA, that would be your opportunity to load up. Again, I'm just so bullish on crypto right now. Maybe, just maybe that was the top. Who knows? There's always a gamble here, but I'm pretty much all in. Almost every red cent I have is in this industry, and I'm just so bullish on the future. So I'll be here riding in the boat with you, moon or doom, Valhalla or dust. So make sure to click on this video popping up right now. I know you'll love it, and I'll see you very soon on the next episode.